She stood at the edge of the Marine sniper training range, clipboard in hand, marking distances and adjusting targets that the elite marksmen would attempt to hit during their advanced qualification course. At 26, Jessica Parker had been working as a civilian range technician for 3 years, invisible to most of the snipers who consider her just another piece of support equipment. When Master Sergeant Rodriguez pointed to a target position at 2,800 meters and declared, "Nobody hits that distance in these wind conditions. It's physically impossible," the other Marines nodded in agreement. Jessica said nothing, but her eyes measured the wind patterns and calculated the ballistics in ways that would have surprised the men who dismissed her as just the girl who fixes targets. What happened next would not only prove that impossible shots are possible, but would forever change how the Marine Corps thinks about precision shooting and the quiet technician who had been observing their techniques for 3 years. Welcome to those who left a trace. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden expertise and impossible precision, tell me in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today? And if you believe that skill recognizes no boundaries, hit that subscribe button to support stories that honor excellence wherever it's found. The Marine Corps Scout Sniper School at Quantico represented the pinnacle of precision marksmanship training, where only the most exceptional Marines earned the right to wear the cross rifles insignia that marked them as qualified snipers. The training facility encompassed over 15,000 acres of varied terrain, with shooting ranges that extended to distances most civilian shooters couldn't imagine attempting. The longest established range stretched to 2,200 meters, but special training exercises occasionally utilized natural terrain features that allowed for shots extending beyond 3,000 meters. Jessica Parker's role as a civilian range technician placed her at the intersection of advanced marksmanship training and the logistical support that made elite sniper instruction possible. Her responsibilities included maintaining electronic target systems, calculating precise range distances using laser measurement equipment, monitoring environmental conditions through sophisticated weather stations, and ensuring that the training ranges met the exacting standards required for precision shooting instruction that could mean the difference between life and death in combat situations. At 26, Jessica possessed a mechanical engineering degree from Virginia Tech, with a specialized focus in ballistics and projectile physics, knowledge that had earned her the competitive civilian contractor position at Quantico despite her lack of military experience. Her academic background included advanced coursework in fluid dynamics, atmospheric physics, and mathematical modeling, subjects that provided her with theoretical knowledge of ballistics that exceeded what most military snipers learned through practical training alone. But what Jessica's official qualifications didn't reveal was her personal background in competitive shooting, military family heritage that stretched back 3 generations, an almost obsessive interest in long-range precision that had consumed her free time since she was 12 years old. Her bedroom walls were covered not with typical decorations, but with ballistic charts, wind-reading diagrams, and photographs of precision rifles that most people had never heard of. Jessica's father, Colonel Michael Parker, had been a Marine sniper instructor at Quantico for over 15 years before his retirement, during which time he had trained some of the most legendary shooters in Marine Corps history. Her grandfather, Master Gunnery Sergeant James Parker, had been a sniper in Vietnam, Korea, and World War II, accumulating a service record that included over 200 confirmed kills and 3 Navy Crosses for extraordinary heroism. Her childhood had been filled not with fairy tales, but with discussions of wind-reading techniques, ballistic coefficients, atmospheric pressure effects, and the mathematical principles that govern precision shooting at extreme distances. By age 16, Jessica was consistently outperforming adult competitors in civilian precision rifle competitions throughout the southeastern United States, setting junior records that still stood 8 years later. Her competitive shooting career had included victories in matches that attracted international competitors, and she held several national records in long-range categories that extended to distances of 2,500 meters and beyond. But her gender had prevented her from pursuing military sniper training during an era when such opportunities were not available to women, a restriction that had shaped her career path in ways that continue to influence her daily life. Working at the Marine Sniper School allowed Jessica to observe the most advanced marksmanship techniques being taught anywhere in the world, while her engineering background enabled her to understand the technical aspects of precision shooting in ways that exceeded the knowledge of many qualified snipers. She had spent 3 years watching Marines learn skills that she had mastered years earlier, observing training methods that she could have improved, and maintaining equipment that she understood better than most of the people who used it. The Marine snipers who trained at Quantico were among the most skilled marksmen in the military, selected through rigorous screening processes that eliminated all but the most exceptional candidates. These men had survived weeks of grueling training that tested not only their shooting abilities, but their physical endurance, mental resilience, and ability to operate under extreme stress. They represented the elite of Marine marksmanship, and their confidence in their abilities was well-founded based on their proven performance in training and combat operations. But Jessica had noticed that their training focused primarily on distances up to 1,200 meters, ranges that were considered extreme in most combat situations, but that represented only a fraction of what was theoretically possible with proper equipment, advanced techniques, and environmental analysis that went beyond standard military instruction. The Marines were being trained to excel within established parameters, but those parameters were based on equipment limitations and doctrine that hadn't fully evolved to embrace the possibilities offered by advances in rifle technology, optics, and ballistic science. Master Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez had been instructing Marine snipers for 8 years, during which time he had developed a reputation for pushing his students to achieve accuracy standards that exceeded minimum qualification requirements. Rodriguez understood that combat snipers needed to be prepared for shots that went beyond textbook scenarios, and he designed training exercises that challenged Marines to perform under conditions that simulated the stress, uncertainty, and environmental challenges of actual operations where perfect conditions never existed and second chances were rarely available. Rodriguez had served 3 combat deployments as a sniper in Iraq and Afghanistan, accumulating a record that included 47 confirmed kills and 2 Bronze Stars for valor. His combat experience had taught him that training scenarios could never fully replicate the challenges that snipers face in actual operations, but he believed that exposing students to extreme conditions during training would better prepare them for the unpredictable nature of combat shooting. That Tuesday morning in November began with what Rodriguez designated as an extreme conditions training exercise, designed to test the students' ability to engage targets under environmental conditions that pushed the limits of what was considered achievable with standard Marine sniper equipment. The exercise was scheduled to coincide with weather conditions that meteorologists had predicted would be challenging: high winds, low temperatures, and variable atmospheric pressure that would significantly affect bullet trajectories at extended ranges. The weather conditions that morning were indeed challenging. Sustained winds of 15 miles per hour with gusts reaching 25 miles per hour. Temperature at 34 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chill bringing the effective temperature down to 22 degrees. Humidity at 78% and atmospheric pressure that was unusually low due to an approaching storm system. These factors combined to create ballistic conditions that would significantly affect bullet trajectory at extended ranges, requiring shooters to make calculations and adjustments that went far beyond standard procedures. Rodriguez had positioned targets at various distances ranging from 800 meters to 2,800 meters, with each distance presenting progressively more difficult challenges that would test different aspects of a student's training. The targets at 800 meters were designed to confirm basic competency and build confidence. The 1,200-meter targets tested standard long-range techniques that formed the core of Marine sniper training. The 1,800-meter targets challenged students to apply advanced environmental calculations that separated competent snipers from exceptional ones. The target position at 2,800 meters represented what Rodriguez considered the absolute theoretical limit of effective engagement with the M40A6 rifles the students were using. This target was not included with any expectation that students would engage it successfully, but rather to demonstrate the outer boundaries of what was possible and to give his Marines an understanding of the environmental factors that made extreme long-range shooting so challenging. Jessica was positioned at the Range Control Station, a sophisticated facility that allowed her to monitor environmental conditions in real time, coordinate target operations through electronic systems, and observe impacts using high-powered spotting scopes that were linked to computer systems capable of calculating precise impact locations. Her position provided her with environmental data that was more accurate and comprehensive than what was available to the shooters, including wind speed and direction at multiple points along the bullet's trajectory, temperature variations at different altitudes, and atmospheric pressure readings that were updated every 30 seconds. The Marines began their qualification course with closer targets, demonstrating precision that had earned them their positions in the sniper program. At 800 meters, all 12 Marines achieved satisfactory accuracy, with most shots landing within the required scoring zones that would be considered effective hits in combat situations. The shooting was technically proficient, showing proper fundamentals and consistent application of basic long-range techniques. At 1,200 meters, performance became more variable, with wind conditions affecting bullet trajectories in ways that challenged even experienced snipers. 7 of the 12 Marines achieved first-round hits, while the others required adjustment shots to compensate for environmental factors they had initially miscalculated. This level of performance was considered acceptable for challenging conditions, and Rodriguez noted that his students were applying the environmental calculation techniques they had been taught with reasonable effectiveness. As the distances increased, the difficulty became exponentially greater. At 1,500 meters, only 5 Marines achieved hits within the required time limit, and their success required multiple adjustments as they learned to read environmental conditions that were more complex than their previous training had prepared them for. The shooting demonstrated competent technique, but also revealed the limitations of standard military training when applied to extreme long-range scenarios. At 1,800 meters, only 3 of the 12 Marines achieved hits on their designated targets, and their success required extended observation periods during which they studied wind patterns, calculated atmospheric effects, and made ballistic adjustments that pushed their knowledge to its limits. The Marines who succeeded at this distance demonstrated exceptional skill and dedication, but their struggles also highlighted how challenging extreme long-range shooting became when environmental conditions exceeded the parameters covered in standard training. At 2,200 meters, only 1 Marine, Staff Sergeant Mike Chun, managed a successful engagement, and that shot was considered exceptional by everyone present. Chun was Rodriguez's most experienced student, with combat experience that included confirmed kills at distances up to 1,400 meters. His success at 2,200 meters required perfect technique, optimal environmental calculations, and what Rodriguez privately considered a significant element of luck in the form of a momentary lull in wind conditions that occurred precisely when Chin fired. Rodriguez pointed toward the target position at 2,800 meters, barely visible even through the high-powered spotting scopes that were available to observers. The target appeared as a small dark spot against a distant hillside, and even with electronic magnification, details were difficult to discern. "Gentlemen," Rodriguez announced, "that target represents the theoretical maximum engagement distance for our equipment under these conditions. The ballistic drop at that range is over 400 inches, meaning the bullet will fall more than 30 feet from its initial trajectory. The wind drift will move the bullet more than 6 feet off course horizontally, and small variations in environmental conditions will affect point of impact by margins that exceed the size of the target itself." Staff Sergeant Chun, who had just achieved the exceptional 2,200-meter shot, studied the distant target through his rifle scope, adjusting magnification, and trying to develop a clear sight picture at the extreme range. "Master Sergeant, the math doesn't work at that distance. Even with perfect environmental calculations, we're looking at a margin of error that makes accurate engagement nearly impossible. The target is barely visible, and any small mistake in calculation will result in a miss by several feet." Rodriguez nodded, understanding that Chen's assessment was mathematically correct based on standard ballistic calculations and the environmental conditions they were facing. "Staff Sergeant Chun, you're right that the shot is at the extreme edge of possibility. But I want you to understand what that edge looks like, and I want you to attempt engagement so that you have a complete understanding of your equipment's capabilities and limitations." Jessica had been listening to the discussion while monitoring her sophisticated environmental measurement equipment, and she found herself calculating the ballistic solution for the 2,800-meter shot using environmental data that was more precise than what the Marines had available at the shooting line. Her engineering background and years of competitive shooting had given her an intuitive understanding of long-range ballistics that exceeded the training most military snipers received, and her access to real-time environmental data provided her with information that could significantly improve the accuracy of ballistic calculations. Based on her calculations, Jessica realized that the shot was difficult but not impossible, assuming the shooter could account for multiple environmental variables that weren't included in standard military ballistic tables. The key factors were precise wind measurement at multiple altitudes, temperature variations along the bullet's trajectory, and atmospheric pressure adjustments that required calculations more sophisticated than what was typically taught in military sniper training. Chun attempted the 2,800-meter shot, using his best estimate of the required adjustments for wind and elevation based on the environmental data available to him at the shooting line. His calculations were methodical and careful, representing the application of everything he had learned during his military training and combat experience. He settled into a shooting position with the deliberate precision of an expert marksman, controlled his breathing, and applied trigger pressure with the smooth consistency that had made him one of Rodriguez's best students. The M40A6 rifle fired with its characteristic sharp crack, and Chim maintained his position to observe the bullet's impact through his rifle scope. At 2,800 meters, the bullet's flight time was over 3 seconds, during which environmental factors continued to affect its trajectory in ways that were difficult to predict precisely. Chen's bullet impacted approximately 8 feet low and 12 feet to the right of the target, a miss that confirmed Rodriguez's assessment of the shot's difficulty, while also demonstrating that Chen's ballistic calculations had been reasonably accurate given the challenges involved. The impact location showed that Chen had accounted correctly for most environmental factors, but small errors in wind calculation and atmospheric pressure adjustment had combined to create a missed distance that would be considered significant in any practical application. Two other Marines, Corporal James Wilson and Lance Corporal David Martinez, attempted the extreme distance shot with similar results. Wilson's shot impacted 6 feet low and 10 feet left of the target, while Martinez's bullet struck 15 feet low and 8 feet right. All three shots demonstrated competent ballistic calculation and proper shooting technique. But the extreme range and challenging environmental conditions created margins of error that exceeded the precision required for successful target engagement. Gentlemen, Rodriguez concluded after the third unsuccessful attempt, this exercise demonstrates the limitations we face when engaging targets at extreme distances. The 2,800-meter shot is beyond the effective capability of our equipment and training under these conditions. While the shots you fire were reasonably close considering the challenges involved, reasonably close is not acceptable when lives depend on precision. Rodriguez continued his instruction, explaining how the environmental factors they had encountered would affect combat shooting, and emphasizing the importance of understanding equipment limitations in operational scenarios. The purpose of attempting this extreme distance shot is not to encourage you to engage targets at ranges where success is unlikely, but to give you a complete understanding of what's possible and what's not possible with your equipment and training. Jessica continued monitoring her environmental measurement equipment, but part of her attention was focused on the ballistic challenge that had defeated the Marine snipers. Based on her calculations using more precise environmental data, she was confident that she could engage the target successfully, but her position as a civilian contractor made any such suggestion inappropriate and unlikely to be taken seriously by Marines who had just witnessed 3 of their most skilled snipers fail at the same task. The training exercise continued with detailed instruction on wind reading techniques, mathematical calculation methods for extreme distance engagements, and discussion of equipment limitations that affected long-range precision. Rodriguez emphasized that while shots like the 2,800-meter attempt were theoretically possible, practical considerations, including equipment limitations, environmental unpredictability, and combat stress made such shots inadvisable in real operational scenarios. The goal of sniper training, Rodriguez explained to his students, is to prepare you for engagements that you can complete successfully under combat conditions. Extreme long-range shots that require perfect conditions and multiple attempts are not suitable for combat applications where you typically have one opportunity to achieve mission success. As the Marines packed their equipment and prepared to leave the range, they discussed the day's training exercise and the lessons they had learned about equipment capabilities and environmental effects on long-range precision. Their conversation reflected the professional attitude and continuous learning mindset that characterized elite military units, and their respectful acceptance of the challenges they had encountered demonstrated the maturity that Rodriguez expected from qualified snipers. Jessica remained at her control station, completing the administrative tasks required to secure the range and document the day's training activities. Her responsibilities included downloading environmental data, securing electronic target systems, and preparing detailed reports that would be used to evaluate the effectiveness of training exercises and identify areas where instruction could be improved. Rodriguez approached Jessica's station to coordinate the shutdown procedures that would prepare the range for the next day's training schedule. As the senior instructor, Rodriguez was responsible for ensuring that all range operations were conducted safely and that training objectives were achieved. But he also valued feedback from support personnel who observed training from different perspectives. Parker, Rodriguez said, using the informal address that was customary for civilian contractors, how did the target systems perform during today's exercise? Did you encounter any technical issues that might have affected the accuracy of impact detection or environmental monitoring? Jessica consulted her, monitoring equipment, reviewing the data logs that had been automatically recorded throughout the training exercise. All systems functioned normally, Master Sergeant. Impact detection was clear and accurate at all distances, including the 2,800-meter target. Environmental monitoring equipment provided consistent readings throughout the exercise, and data quality was within normal parameters. Rodriguez paused, noting something in Jessica's tone that suggested professional interest beyond her administrative responsibilities. During his 3 years of working with Jessica, he had observed that her comment about training exercises often reflected understanding that went beyond what you expect from someone whose job was primarily technical support. Parker, you've been observing sniper training for 3 years now. What's your assessment of today's extreme distance attempts? From your perspective monitoring the environmental conditions and target impacts, do you think the Marines' performance was consistent with the challenges they were facing? Jessica considered her response carefully, understanding that Rodriguez was asking for a professional opinion rather than just administrative confirmation of equipment performance. Master Sergeant, the Marines' shooting was technically proficient, and their ballistic calculations were mathematically sound based on the environmental data available to them at the shooting line. However, the calculations didn't account for all the environmental variables that were affecting bullet trajectory at that distance. Rodriguez studied Jessica's expression, recognizing that her comments suggested knowledge that went beyond what you expect from a range technician, even one with an engineering background. Parker, are you saying you think the 2,800-meter shot was achievable under today's conditions? Because 3 of my most experienced snipers, including Staff Sergeant Chun, who has combat experience with long-range engagements, couldn't make that shot work. Jessica met Rodriguez's gaze directly, realizing that her technical assessment had revealed more about her background knowledge than she had intended to share. Master Sergeant, with more precise environmental data and ballistic calculations that account for atmospheric variables not included in standard military tables, I believe the shot was within the theoretical capability of the equipment being used. Rodriguez felt a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Jessica's confidence seemed inconsistent with her role as a civilian support employee, but her technical knowledge had always impressed him during their previous interactions, and her engineering background provided credibility for her technical assessments. Parker, that's an interesting assessment, and I respect your technical expertise. But what makes you think the shot was possible when my most experienced Marines, using proper technique and ballistic calculations, couldn't achieve it? Jessica realized that she had crossed into territory that might reveal more about her personal background than she had intended to share with military personnel who viewed her primarily as civilian support staff. Master Sergeant, I have some personal experience with precision shooting, and I've been monitoring environmental conditions using equipment that provides more detailed atmospheric data than what's available to shooters at the firing line. Rodriguez's interest was now fully engaged. Jessica had always been professional and knowledgeable in her interactions with military personnel, but this was the first time she had suggested that she possessed practical shooting experience rather than purely theoretical knowledge. Parker, what kind of personal experience with precision shooting are we talking about? Jessica hesitated, understanding that revealing her competitive shooting background might change how the Marines viewed her role and potentially create complications in her working relationships with military personnel who might not know how to respond to a civilian contractor who possessed shooting skills that potentially exceeded their own. Master Sergeant, I've been competing in civilian precision rifle competitions since I was 16 years old. I hold several national records in long-range categories, including successful engagements at distances comparable to today's extreme target. Rodriguez absorbed this information, realizing that Jessica had been observing Marine sniper training from the perspective of someone with extensive practical experience in the same disciplines being taught, rather than as a civilian support employee learning about military procedures. Parker, you're saying you could make the 2,800-meter shot that 3 of my best Marines missed? The question hung in the air between them, representing a challenge that would either validate Jessica's claims about her shooting abilities or expose them as unfounded confidence based on theoretical knowledge rather than practical capability. Jessica looked toward the distant target that had defeated the Marine snipers, then back at Rodriguez, understanding that her answer would fundamentally change their professional relationship. Master Sergeant, based on my analysis of the environmental conditions and the ballistic requirements, I believe I could engage that target successfully with appropriate equipment and access to the environmental data I've been monitoring. Rodriguez made a decision that would change both their understanding of what was possible at extreme distances and Jessica's role in the Marine sniper training program. Parker, tomorrow is Saturday, and the range is reserved for my personal use to conduct equipment testing and training development. If you're willing to demonstrate your assessment of the shot's feasibility, I'd like to see what you can accomplish. Saturday morning arrived with environmental conditions that were even more challenging than the previous day's training exercise, as if nature was determined to test Jessica's confidence in the most difficult circumstances possible. Wind speeds had increased to sustain 20 miles per hour, with gusts reaching 30 miles per hour. Temperature had dropped to 28 degrees Fahrenheit, with wind chill bringing the effective temperature down to 15 degrees. And intermittent snow flurries created visibility conditions that most shooters would consider prohibitive for precision work at any significant distance. Jessica arrived at the range an hour before her scheduled meeting with Rodriguez, using the extra time to conduct detailed environmental monitoring and ballistic calculations that would be crucial for attempting the 2,800-meter shot under conditions that were significantly more challenging than what the Marine snipers had faced the previous day. Her early arrival also allowed her to set up her equipment without the pressure of being observed, giving her time to prepare mentally for what she understood would be a defining moment in her relationship with the Marine sniper program. The range in the early morning hours was peaceful in a way that contrasted sharply with the intensity of military training exercises. Jessica used the quiet time to study wind patterns using natural indicators that weren't available during busy training periods. The movement of grass at various distances, the behavior of smoke from a small brush fire several miles away, and the drift patterns of snow flurries that provided real-time visualization of atmospheric conditions at different altitudes along the bullet's potential trajectory. Rodriguez arrived to find Jessica already positioned at the shooting line with equipment that immediately captured his attention and exceeded his expectations of what a civilian contractor might possess. Instead of borrowing a military rifle or using basic civilian hunting equipment, Jessica had brought a complete precision shooting system that represented the cutting edge of civilian long-range shooting technology and clearly indicated serious commitment to the discipline. Parker, Rodriguez said, examining Jessica's rifle and associated equipment, "What exactly am I looking at here?" Jessica's rifle was a custom-built precision platform chambered in .338 Lapua Magnum, a cartridge specifically designed for extreme long-range applications and capable of maintaining accuracy at distances that exceeded the effective range of most military sniper rifles. The rifle featured a heavy match-grade barrel manufactured to tolerances that exceeded military specifications, a precision action that had been blueprinted and modified for optimal accuracy, and a stock designed specifically for long-range shooting that incorporated adjustable features, allowing the rifle to be precisely fitted to the shooter's physical dimensions. The optics mounted on Jessica's rifle were equally impressive, a variable power tactical scope manufactured by a company that specialized in equipment for competitive long-range shooting, featuring magnification capabilities that exceeded standard military optics and optical clarity that will allow precise target identification at extreme distances. The scope was equipped with sophisticated ballistic calculation features that could account for environmental variables automatically, reducing the time required for complex mathematical calculations. Master Sergeant, this is my competition rifle. It's optimized specifically for extreme long-range precision work and equipped with ballistic computers that can calculate shooting solutions for distances extending beyond 3,000 meters under various environmental conditions. Rodriguez studied the rifle specifications, recognizing that Jessica's equipment was superior to standard military-issue sniper rifles in several important respects that would significantly affect her ability to achieve accuracy at extreme distances. Parker, this changes the equation significantly. My Marines were attempting yesterday's shot with M40A6 rifles that, while excellent for military applications, weren't designed specifically for the kind of extreme distance work you're proposing to demonstrate. Jessica nodded, understanding Rodriguez's point about equipment differences. Master Sergeant, the shot remains challenging even with optimal equipment. The ballistic and environmental calculations are the same regardless of the rifle being used. But the precision capabilities of this rifle and its optics make accuracy achievable at distances where military equipment would be at the edge of its effective range. Rodriguez activated the range safety systems and positioned himself with spotting equipment that would allow him to observe Jessica's shot attempt and communicate target results. His spotting scope was a high-quality military model, but it lacked the advanced features of Jessica's rifle optics, meaning that he would be observing the shot with equipment that was less sophisticated than what Jessica was using to aim. Parker, the target is positioned at exactly 2,847 meters, measured this morning using laser range-finding equipment to account for any changes in target placement since yesterday's exercise. Current wind conditions are variable between 20 and 30 miles per hour from the northwest, with occasional gusts reaching higher velocities. Temperature is 28 degrees Fahrenheit, with intermittent snow, reducing visibility. Are you confident that you can engage successfully under these conditions? Jessica completed her final equipment checks and settled into a shooting position that demonstrated training and experience that Rodriguez had not expected from a civilian contractor. Her body alignment, breathing control, and rifle handling techniques reflected years of specialized instruction and practice, and her movement suggested familiarity with precision shooting that exceeded what most people acquire through casual recreational activity. Master Sergeant, I've calculated the ballistic solution accounting for all environmental variables that can be measured accurately. The shot is at the extreme edge of possibility under these conditions, but it's within the theoretical capability of this equipment and my training. Rodriguez observed Jessica's shooting position, noting techniques that exceeded what he taught in Marine sniper school and recognizing elements of advanced precision shooting that were typically associated with competitive disciplines rather than military training. Her shooting position incorporated stability techniques that maximize the rifle's natural point of aim, breathing control methods that minimize movement during the critical seconds before firing, and trigger control techniques that eliminated the possibility of disturbing the rifle's alignment during the firing sequence. Most significantly, Jessica's approach to the shot demonstrated patience and methodical preparation that suggested extensive experience with extreme long-range engagements. Parker, the range is yours whenever you're ready. Take as much time as you need to prepare for the shot. Jessica began her shooting sequence with the methodical precision of someone who understood that extreme long-range shots required perfect technique applied with absolute consistency over an extended period of preparation. She controlled her breathing using techniques that allowed her to maintain steady position for several minutes while making final calculations and adjustments, and she monitored environmental conditions continuously to account for changes in wind or atmospheric pressure that might affect bullet trajectory. Her ballistic calculations incorporated environmental data that was more comprehensive than what military snipers typically used, including temperature measurements at multiple altitudes, wind speed and direction readings at various points along the bullet's trajectory, and atmospheric pressure adjustments that accounted for the approaching weather system that was affecting local conditions. The rifle fired with a sharp crack that echoed across the range and through the surrounding hills, but the bullet's impact at 2,847 meters would take over 3 seconds to reach the target, during which time environmental factors would continue to affect its trajectory in ways that required precise prediction to achieve accuracy. Rodriguez maintained focus on his spotting scope, watching the distant target through optics that made the 2,800-meter engagement challenging to observe clearly. The target appeared as a small dark circle against a hillside background, and even with electronic magnification, distinguishing precise impact locations required careful observation and experience interpreting what was visible at extreme distances. Impact! Center target, Rodriguez called out, his voice carrying surprise that exceeded his professional composure and reflected genuine amazement at what he had just witnessed. Jessica had achieved what 3 experienced Marine snipers with combat records had considered impossible, engaging a target at 2,847 meters under environmental conditions that were significantly more challenging than those faced during the previous day's training exercise. Rodriguez lowered his spotting scope and looked at Jessica, who was calmly clearing her rifle and preparing to pack her equipment with the same methodical precision she had used throughout the shooting sequence. Parker, that was an extraordinary demonstration of marksmanship. I need to understand how you achieved accuracy that exceeded what my most experienced Marines could accomplish, especially under conditions that were more challenging than what they faced yesterday. Jessica finished securing her rifle and turned to Rodriguez, understanding that her successful shot had fundamentally changed their professional relationship and would require explanation that went beyond her previous limited disclosure of her shooting background. Master Sergeant, the shot required precise environmental data, accurate ballistic calculations that accounted for atmospheric variables not included in standard military procedures, and equipment that was optimized specifically for extreme long-range precision work. Most importantly, it required experience with the specific techniques and mental approaches that are necessary for successful shooting at these distances. Rodriguez realized that Jessica possessed shooting capabilities that exceeded those of many military snipers, and that her 3 years of observing Marine training had been from the perspective of someone who could have provided instruction rather than merely technical support. Parker, I need to ask you directly, where did you learn to shoot like that? Because what you just demonstrated represents skills that are rare even among the most elite military snipers. Jessica had anticipated this question and decided that Rodriguez deserved a complete explanation of her background, understanding that partial disclosure would no longer be appropriate given what she had just demonstrated. Master Sergeant, my father was Colonel Michael Parker, who served as a Marine sniper instructor here at Quantico for over 15 years before his retirement. I learned precision shooting from him starting when I was 12 years old, and I've been competing at the highest levels of civilian long-range shooting for over 10 years. My competitive record includes victories in national and international matches, and I hold several records in extreme long-range categories. Rodriguez recognized Colonel Parker's name immediately. Parker, your father was legendary in the Marine sniper community. He trained some of the best shooters who ever served in the Corps, and his instruction methods influenced an entire generation of Marine snipers. Jessica nodded, understanding that her father's reputation would provide context for her own capabilities. Master Sergeant, I learned from him that precision shooting is a combination of technical knowledge, proper equipment, disciplined technique, and mental preparation. Today's shot required all 4 elements applied with consistency and patience. Rodriguez was quiet for several minutes, processing the implications of what he had witnessed and understanding that Jessica's demonstration had revealed capabilities that could potentially benefit Marine sniper training in ways he was only beginning to consider. Parker, I have a question that might seem inappropriate, but I need to ask it directly. Given your demonstrated capabilities and your family background in Marine service, have you ever considered military enlistment? Because what you just demonstrated suggests skills that will be extremely valuable to the Marine Corps, Jessica appreciated Rodriguez's directness and understood that her successful shot had created an opportunity to discuss possibilities she had considered but never seriously pursued. Master Sergeant, I've thought about military service frequently, especially during my time working here and observing Marine training. But when I was initially eligible for enlistment, sniper training and many other military occupational specialties weren't available to women. By the time policies changed to allow full integration, I had established my career as a civilian contractor and assumed that my age and civilian status would disqualify me from military training programs. Rodriguez understood the timing issues that had prevented Jessica from pursuing military sniper training during earlier periods when such opportunities were restricted, but he also knew that current policies and military needs had created opportunities that hadn't existed previously. Parker, military policies have changed significantly in recent years, and women are now eligible for all military occupational specialties without restriction, including scout sniper training. More importantly, the Marine Corps has provisions for age waivers and accelerated training programs for individuals with specialized skills that meet critical military needs. Jessica had thought about these possibilities during her 3 years at Quantico, but she had never seriously investigated whether her background and age would make military service feasible. Master Sergeant, I'm 26 years old with 3 years in a civilian contractor position. Would I still be eligible for Marine enlistment and advanced training programs like Scout Sniper School? Rodriguez smiled for the first time since witnessing Jessica's impossible shot, recognizing that he might be able to offer Jessica an opportunity that would benefit both her personal goals and Marine Corps training capabilities. Parker, the Marine Corps needs people with your capabilities more than you might realize. Age waivers are routinely approved for individuals with specialized skills, and your demonstrated expertise would make you an exceptionally strong candidate for accelerated training programs that could have you qualified as a Marine sniper instructor within a year of enlistment. Jessica realized that Rodriguez was offering her an opportunity she had never considered seriously, the chance to transition from supporting Marine sniper training to actually participating in it as a qualified Marine with the potential to influence training methods and standards. Master Sergeant, are you suggesting that I could enlist in the Marine Corps, attend Scout Sniper School, and potentially become an instructor in the same program where I currently work as a civilian contractor? Rodriguez's answer would fundamentally change Jessica's understanding of her career options and her potential contribution to Marine Corps precision shooting capabilities. Parker, I'm suggesting something more significant than that. Based on what you've demonstrated today, I believe you could not only complete Scout Sniper training successfully, but you could revolutionize the training we provide to future Marine snipers. Your technical knowledge, practical experience, and proven capabilities at extreme distances could help us develop training programs that prepare Marines for challenges we haven't previously addressed. Jessica felt a surge of possibility and purpose that she had never experienced during her civilian career. The opportunity to transition from observing Marine sniper training to actually shaping it represented the fulfillment of ambitions she had carried since childhood, when she had watched her father prepare Marines for combat operations that would test their skills under the most demanding circumstances imaginable. Master Sergeant, what would be the next steps if I decided to pursue this opportunity? And what kind of timeline would be involved for someone with my background? Rodriguez was already mentally planning the recommendations he would submit to his superiors and the processes that would need to be initiated to facilitate Jessica's transition from civilian contractor to Marine sniper instructor. Parker, the first step would be enlisting in the Marine Corps with guaranteed assignment to Scout Sniper training, which can be arranged based on your demonstrated capabilities and the Marine Corps' need for your expertise. Given your background and proven skills, I believe you would not only complete the training program successfully, but you would set new standards for precision shooting performance that could influence training methods throughout the Marine Corps. Over the following weeks, Jessica completed the complex enlistment process that would transition her from civilian contractor to Marine recruit, a decision that surprised some of her colleagues, but was fully supported by Rodriguez and the Marine Training Command that had observed her demonstration of impossible precision under challenging conditions. Jessica's time in Marine Corps recruit training at Paris Island would prove to be largely a formality, as her physical conditioning, military knowledge acquired through years of working at Quantico, and family background in Marine service enable her to exceed the standard expected of new enlistees. Her drill instructors quickly recognized that Jessica possessed discipline, knowledge, and motivation that placed her among the most promising recruits they had encountered. But it was during Scout Sniper School that Jessica would truly demonstrate the capabilities that Rodriguez had recognized during her impossible shot at 2,847 meters. The rigorous 13-week course was designed to test every aspect of a Marine's abilities: physical endurance, mental resilience, technical knowledge, and shooting skills under conditions that push students to their absolute limits. Jessica's performance during the initial phases of sniper school exceeded the expectations of even her most optimistic instructors. Her stalking exercises, which required students to move undetected across open terrain while carrying full equipment, demonstrated fieldcraft skills that typically took months to develop. Her camouflage and concealment techniques reflected understanding of natural environments that went beyond classroom instruction, drawing on knowledge she had acquired during years of competitive shooting in varied terrain conditions. During the academic phases of training, Jessica's engineering background and ballistics knowledge allowed her to excel in subjects that challenged many of her fellow students. Her understanding of atmospheric effects, trajectory calculations, and environmental factors that influence long-range precision made her a resource for other students who struggled with the mathematical aspects of advanced marksmanship. But it was during the live-fire training exercises that Jessica's true capabilities became apparent to instructors who had heard reports of her civilian demonstration but had not witnessed her shooting firsthand. The standard Marine sniper qualification course required students to engage targets at distances ranging from 300 to 1,000 meters, demonstrating accuracy standards that eliminated candidates who couldn't maintain precision under pressure. Jessica completed the standard qualification requirements with perfect scores, but her instructors quickly realized that the established training targets didn't adequately challenge her abilities. Chief Warrant Officer Thomas Mitchell, the senior sniper instructor, made the unusual decision to design specialized training exercises that would test Jessica's capabilities at distances that exceeded normal training parameters. Private Parker, Mitchell announced during a training exercise that had been modified specifically for her abilities, "We're going to explore the outer limits of what's possible with Marine sniper equipment. The targets I position for you today extend to distances that most Marines never attempt, and I want to see how your civilian competition experience translates to military precision shooting." The specialized training course Mitchell had designed included targets positioned at 1,200, 1,500, 1,800, 2,200, and 2,600 meters, with each distance presenting progressively more difficult challenges that would test Jessica's ability to apply civilian precision shooting techniques using military equipment under field conditions. Jessica's performance at the extended distances amazed instructors who had trained hundreds of Marine snipers over decades of service. At 1,200 meters, she achieved first-round hits on every engagement. At 1,500 meters, her accuracy remained consistently within the scoring zones that would be considered effective in combat situations. At 1,800 meters, she demonstrated precision that exceeded what most instructors could achieve with the same equipment. At 2,200 meters, Jessica achieved successful engagements that represented the outer limits of what had been considered possible with standard Marine sniper rifles, and her shooting demonstrated techniques that her instructors recognized could improve training methods for future students. But it was her performance at 2,600 meters that convinced everyone present that Jessica possessed capabilities that could revolutionize Marine Corps precision shooting doctrine. Impact, center target, called out Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez, who had requested permission to observe Jessica's specialized training exercise. Private Parker has just achieved successful engagement at a distance that exceeds the established effective range of Marine sniper equipment by over 800 meters. The implications of Jessica's performance were immediately apparent to the instructors, who understood that her success wasn't based on luck or exceptional equipment, but on systematic application of advanced techniques that could potentially be taught to other Marines if proper training methods were developed. Chief Mitchell approached Jessica after the training exercise concluded. "Private Parker, what you've demonstrated today suggests that current Marine sniper training may be more limited than necessary. Your success at extreme distances indicates that our equipment is capable of greater precision than we've been achieving, and your techniques can improve the capabilities of every Marine sniper if we can incorporate them into our training programs. Jessica understood that Mitchell was offering her an opportunity to influence Marine sniper training in ways that went far beyond her original goals of completing sniper school and earning qualification as a Marine marksman. But it was during the live-fire training exercises that Jessica's true capabilities became apparent to instructors who had heard reports of her civilian demonstration, but had not witnessed her shooting firsthand. The standard Marine sniper qualification course required students to engage targets at distances ranging from 300 to 1,000 meters, demonstrating accuracy standards that eliminated candidates who couldn't maintain precision under pressure. Jessica completed the standard qualification requirements with perfect scores, but her instructors quickly realized that the established training targets didn't adequately challenge her abilities. Chief Warrant Officer Thomas Mitchell, the senior sniper instructor, made the unusual decision to design specialized training exercises that would test Jessica's capabilities at distances that exceeded normal training parameters. Private Parker, Mitchell announced during a training exercise that had been modified specifically for her abilities, "We're going to explore the outer limits of what's possible with Marine sniper equipment. The targets I position for you today extend to distances that most Marines never attempt, and I want to see how your civilian competition experience translates to military precision shooting." The specialized training course Mitchell had designed included targets positioned at 1,200, 1,500, 1,800, 2,200, and 2,600 meters, with each distance presenting progressively more difficult challenges that would test Jessica's ability to apply civilian precision shooting techniques using military equipment under field conditions. Jessica's performance at the extended distances amazed instructors who had trained hundreds of Marine snipers over decades of service. At 1,200 meters, she achieved first-round hits on every engagement. At 1,500 meters, her accuracy remained consistently within the scoring zones that would be considered effective in combat situations. At 1,800 meters, she demonstrated precision that exceeded what most instructors could achieve with the same equipment. At 2,200 meters, Jessica achieved successful engagements that represented the outer limits of what had been considered possible with standard Marine sniper rifles, and her shooting demonstrated techniques that her instructors recognized could improve training methods for future students. But it was her performance at 2,600 meters that convinced everyone present that Jessica possessed capabilities that could revolutionize Marine Corps precision shooting doctrine. "Impact, center target," called out Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez, who had requested permission to observe Jessica's specialized training exercise. Private Parker has just achieved successful engagement at a distance that exceeds the established effective range of Marine sniper equipment by over 800 meters. The implications of Jessica's performance were immediately apparent to the instructors, who understood that her success wasn't based on luck or exceptional equipment, but on systematic application of advanced techniques that could potentially be taught to other Marines if proper training methods were developed. Chief Mitchell approached Jessica after the training exercise concluded. "Private Parker, what you've demonstrated today suggests that current Marine sniper training may be more limited than necessary. Your success at extreme distances indicates that our equipment is capable of greater precision than we've been achieving, and your techniques could improve the capabilities of every Marine sniper if we can incorporate them into our training programs." Jessica understood that Mitchell was offering her an opportunity to influence Marine sniper training in ways that went far beyond her original goals of completing sniper school and earning qualification as a Marine marksman. "Chief Mitchell, I believe that Marine snipers are capable of much greater precision than current training standards require. The limiting factors aren't equipment capabilities or individual talent, but training methods that don't fully explore what's possible with systematic application of advanced techniques." Mitchell nodded, recognizing that Jessica's assessment aligned with his own observations during her specialized training exercises. "Private Parker, I'm going to recommend that you be assigned to the Instructor Development Program upon completion of Sniper School. Your demonstrated capabilities and understanding of advanced precision shooting techniques make you uniquely qualified to help us develop training methods that could significantly improve Marine sniper effectiveness. The instructor development program represented an accelerated path that would allow Jessica to transition from student to instructor within months of completing her basic sniper qualification, a timeline that was unprecedented for someone with her limited military experience, but was justified by her exceptional demonstrated capabilities. Jessica's assignment to instructor development required approval from Marine Corps headquarters, but the recommendations from Rodriguez, Mitchell, and other senior instructors who had observed her performance created a compelling case for utilizing her expertise to improve training programs that had remained largely unchanged for decades. During the final weeks of sniper school, Jessica worked closely with instructors to document the techniques that had enabled her success at extreme distances, creating training materials that could be used to teach other Marines the environmental analysis, ballistic calculation, and shooting techniques that were necessary for precision shooting beyond standard engagement ranges. Private Parker, Chief Mitchell explained during one of their training development sessions, "What we're creating here has the potential to change how the Marine Corps approaches long-range precision shooting. Your techniques can enable every Marine sniper to achieve capabilities that we previously considered exceptional, and your understanding of the technical aspect of ballistics could improve our training methods significantly." Jessica's graduation from sniper school was accompanied by assignment orders that designated her as an instructor in training with the Marine Corps Scout Sniper School, making her one of the youngest Marines ever assigned to instructor duties, and the first woman to serve as a sniper instructor in Marine Corps history. But more importantly, Jessica's transition from civilian contractor to Marine sniper instructor represented the beginning of changes to Marine Corps precision shooting training that would influence a generation of Marines and establish new standards for long-range marksmanship that reflected the full potential of modern equipment and advanced techniques. 6 months after her impossible shot at the Quantico Range, newly promoted Corporal Jessica Parker stood before her first class of Marine sniper students, preparing to demonstrate shooting techniques that would challenge everything they thought they understood about the limits of precision marksmanship. "Marines," Jessica began, addressing 12 elite students who had earned their positions through months of rigorous training and selection. "Today we're going to explore what's possible when proper technique meets optimal preparation under challenging conditions. The shots you're about to observe may seem impossible based on your previous training, but I'm going to show you that impossible is just another word for techniques you haven't learned yet." The training exercise Jessica had designed for her students included targets positioned at distances that exceeded previous Marine sniper training standards, with the furthest target placed at 2,400 meters to challenge students to apply advanced environmental analysis and ballistic calculation techniques that were now being incorporated into Marine sniper instruction for the first time. Rodriguez watched from the instructor observation area as Jessica prepared to teach Marines the techniques that had enabled her transition from invisible civilian contractor to Marine sniper instructor whose methods were influencing training doctrine throughout the Corps. "Corporal Parker," Rodriguez announced to the assembled students, "achieved successful engagement at 2,847 meters under challenging environmental conditions before she enlisted in the Marine Corps. The techniques she's going to teach you today represent the most advanced precision shooting methods available anywhere in the world, and mastering these techniques will make you more effective Marine snipers than previous training methods could achieve." Jessica's first demonstration shot was targeted at 1,800 meters, a distance that represented the outer limit of what most Marine snipers considered achievable with standard equipment and training. Her successful first-round hit established credibility with students who might otherwise have questioned whether civilian competition experience was relevant to military precision shooting. "Marines," Jessica explained after her successful demonstration, "precision shooting at extreme distances requires systematic application of environmental analysis, ballistic calculation, and shooting techniques that go beyond what you learned in basic sniper training. Today's instruction will teach you how to engage targets at distances you previously considered impossible." The training methods Jessica had developed incorporated her engineering background, competitive shooting experience, and detailed understanding of military equipment to create instruction that was more comprehensive and technically advanced than previous Marine sniper training had provided. Her students quickly discovered that Jessica's approach to precision shooting required greater attention to environmental factors, more sophisticated ballistic calculations, and shooting techniques that demanded higher levels of consistency and patience than they had previously developed. But they also discovered that systematic application of Jessica's methods enabled them to achieve accuracy at distances they had never successfully engaged, expanding their capabilities as Marine snipers in ways that would make them more effective in combat situations that required extreme long-range precision. During the following months, Jessica's influence on Marine sniper training became apparent through the improved performance of Marines who had completed her advanced precision shooting courses. Combat reports indicated that Marines trained using Jessica's methods were achieving successful engagements at distances that exceeded previous Marine sniper records, and their success rates at extreme distances were significantly higher than Marines trained using traditional methods. The Marine Corps began incorporating Jessica's techniques into standard sniper training curricula, ensuring that all future Marine snipers would learn the advanced methods that had been developed based on her civilian competition experience and technical expertise. But perhaps most significantly, Jessica's success had demonstrated that expertise could emerge from unexpected sources, and that the Marine Corps benefited when it remained open to incorporating advanced techniques regardless of their origin. 2 years after her transition from civilian contractor to Marine sniper instructor, Staff Sergeant Jessica Parker received orders assigning her to develop advanced precision shooting training programs for special operations units that required capabilities at the absolute limits of what was possible with current equipment and techniques. Her new assignment would take her to training facilities around the world, where she would teach advanced precision shooting to elite military units whose missions required accuracy at distances that pushed the boundaries of what was technically achievable. But Jessica would always remember the moment when Master Sergeant Rodriguez had challenged her assessment of an impossible shot, and she had proven that impossible was just another word for techniques that hadn't been properly applied. The civilian contractor who had been invisible to Marine snipers for 3 years had become the Marine instructor whose methods were being taught throughout the Corps, proving that true expertise recognizes no boundaries, and that the most valuable contributors are often those who bring unique perspectives to traditional challenges. Jessica's journey from fixing targets to teaching Marines how to hit targets that others considered unreachable demonstrated that skills developed in civilian competition could enhance military training, and that the Marine Corps was strongest when it incorporated the best techniques available regardless of their source. The woman who had quietly calculated ballistics while others dismissed her as support staff had become the instructor who was teaching Marines to achieve precision that exceeded what previous generations had considered possible, proving that expertise often exists in unexpected places, waiting for the right opportunity to demonstrate its value. Have you ever achieved something that others said was impossible? Jessica Parker's story reminds us that the greatest breakthroughs often come from those who refuse to accept conventional limitations and who possess the skills to prove that impossible is just another word for unprepared. Subscribe to those who left a trace if you believe that excellence can emerge from unexpected places, and that the most valuable expertise is often found in those who observe quietly before demonstrating their capabilities when the moment is right. We'll see you in the next story, where we'll continue to honor those who prove that skill recognizes no boundaries, and that the most impressive achievements are often accomplished by those who were underestimated until they had the opportunity to show what they could really do.